Welcome to Buckeye Scoop Live. What an incredible weekend. Happy Easter, everybody. The Masters just finished up. The Boston Bruins has set the NHL wins record. Great sports weekend. But most importantly, Ohio State got a quarterback. So that was important. We got Aaron Nolan into the fold. So we have our quarterback for 2024. And now it looks like it could be getting an avalanche of defensive commitments. So a lot of names to watch. This is the last week of spring ball. Capped by the spring game, which will be on the 15th next Saturday. And it is going to be, I think, a spectacle of some of the biggest recruits in the country showing up. It's always fun when these kids are committed and they get to kind of be the kind of the tour guides for the uncommitted kids, or some of the kids that are maybe not on campus yet, such as Brandon Ennis. They'll be walking around having a good time. Ryan Day is made. The spring game is pretty light now in terms of the physicality, but it's a spectacle. It's fun to see the stadium. The weather looks like it's going to be great. So it's going to be a great day for the shoe. So we're going to talk a little bit about this last week of camp for spring camp. And we're going to talk and watch some of these guys that are on the radar that could be Buckeyes very, very soon. That being said, happy Easter. As always, we're very thankful and grateful for you guys. If you enjoy this content, please leave us a like. Click subscribe. We have been getting a ton of subscribers. We put up a Dwayne Haskins tribute video today. 1 year anniversary of his passing. God rest Dwayne Haskins. What a great kid. Gone too soon. But again, we appreciate you guys. Again, we never take you guys for granted for you guys showing up and enjoying our content. So as always, thank you so much. Again, if you could shout out where you guys are from. Write that down in the comments. I love to see where you guys are watching from. We've had people literally from all over the world that tune into our content. So that is a blessing. We are very gracious for that, very appreciative of that. And we're going to get into some awesome content tonight. So with that being said, going to bring in my good friend, Nevada. Nevada, how are you tonight?
Doing great, man. Just went to the Angels game today, watched them lose 12-11 Toronto, and got back in time to watch the end of the Masters and watch that. And then I watched the replay of the Quinnipiac, Minnesota Division I men's hockey game from yesterday that ended 10 seconds into overtime, which is kind of crazy ending. And what a great sports day all the way around. Ready to talk some Buckeye football.
Yeah, it really was. Like Quinnipiac, they beat Michigan, who's got a ton of NHL top drawer first round guys. Adam Fantilli is the number 2 pick of the draft. They also have Luke Hughes, who is going to be up with the Devils literally today. That's kind of the interesting thing with college hockey is once the season's over, these guys goes right to the NHL. I mean, they're signing with their clubs and they're playing like 2 days later in the league. So it's going to be real interesting to see how those guys do. But Ohio State is coming down the stretch of spring ball. A lot of momentum in recruiting. A lot of great commitments have jumped on board. Mylan Graham, Aaron Nolan. But now I think there's going to be some momentum for some defensive players. I think Bryce West is about to jump in the boat. A kid that I love is Aaron Scott, a kid from Springfield. We're going to get into him a little bit. Nevada, do you feel like there's about to be a bunch of momentum and a bunch of defensive players jumping into the boat for Ohio State's 2024 recruiting class?
No doubt. And may even have an equal sign. May even have an equal sign to drop here shortly. But don't want to bury the lead on the podcast. Definitely have something out as late as later on this evening on the website. So maybe an equal sign coming for Ohio State on the defensive side. Big things happening, and Ohio State certainly got the momentum.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that we've got at least one linebacker, a couple of really, really spectacular corners. And then some edge guys. We're going to watch a couple edge guys. One, I think, really, really high chance we get him. Another one is more of a, could be the day of signing day that he puts the hat on the table and picks. But I love both the kids. So we're going to get into those guys. But we're going to start off a little bit with Aaron Scott. Aaron Scott's a local kid, Springfield kid, Dayton kid, really explosive athlete. We're going to get into his tape. He's 6 foot, I don't know if he's still 165. He's probably about $180 now, $185 after a year of strength training, conditioning, eating, just natural growth. But what excites you about Aaron Scott? I'm going to switch over to his film real quick.
Well, I mean, for me, it's like you just can't have enough of those elite corners. I mean, we talk about how the game's kind of a pitch and catch game right now with quarterbacks and wide receivers, and obviously the first line of defense to kind of parry against that in these high scoring semifinal games that are invariably go 41-40 or 45-44 or whatever it is elite defensive backs. And can you find guys that can cover? And this guy can certainly do it. He's a do it all kind of special teams, offense, defense. Could play really anywhere on the field, and just a competitive kid, super athletic, got everything that you'd want. And I'm super excited. Couldn't be more excited about a kid than this guy.
Yeah, this is a man coverage guy, man. That's kind of what you want, what you need anymore. The way we run our defense, you need guys that can stick to these really good wide receivers and cover them kind of like glue. And we're blessed in Ohio this year. We have two big time guys, two 5-star type corners. Really athletic, really like electric speed. When he gets the ball in his hands, he's going with it. A lot of confidence areas. He's got another pick. They start off with a pick six. I'm just going to bring it back to the front where we had the pick six right off the top. And this guy, if he gets the ball, man, he's going to the crib. That's what he likes to do. A lot of confidence in his game. Again, I don't know why that was a lollipop right there, but still, once he's got it in his hands, man, he's doing something with it. He's taking it back. And again, you can't have enough guys that are like that. I think that man coverage is a skill that can get guys paid a lot of money in the NFL. It gets guys a lot of early playing time in college as well, because if you can stick to a guy in man, it's extremely hard to do, but if you can do it, you can play really early. And we're gonna have two of them likely that are going to be Buckeyes that are going to be in the mix for that. So love this kid's tape. I love just breaking these guys down. Again, here's another one. He gets the pick. He's trying to get home. Obviously, he gets stopped short here, but once he gets the ball in his hands, it's kind of neat to see the explosion and the agility because. Obviously, when he's covering some of these receivers, he's just a better athlete than a lot of these guys, but he still gets around, he still gets his hands on the ball. Here he comes up with the ball, which is, kind of miraculous. You can't really see it in the screenshot, but he grabs it and, you love guys that can get their hands on the ball. I just think some guys have that kind of magnetism in their hands where they magically come down with the ball more often than not. Like, again, maybe the greatest example of all time was Malik Hooker, a guy that if the ball's in the air, he was getting it and he was going the other way with it. But guys like that, you just can't have enough of them. So, yeah, but he's an explosive guy. Nevada, is there a guy he reminds you of? Is there a guy that, as you watch, the first 10 plays or so that you're like, yeah, this guy could play early like this guy? Like I said, guys, or someone that he reminds you of as you watch him?
Well, I mean, you got to think about a guy. I always look to the NFL guys and think about a guy like a Jalen Ramsey, or
Yeah.
or you can talk about some of the smaller corners. I mean, he covers like some of the smaller corners, but like this is a long kid who can kind of really get up there and be one of those kind of elite cover guys. Who's kind of a Sauce Gardner, plays a little bit like Sauce. Has a little bit of Malcolm Jenkins in him. So. I mean, all the good things that you'd want in a number one type of cornerback. You can kind of go man up on the best wide receiver in the other team and more than hold his own. This is that guy, and the fact that he's right in our backyard is just is such a blessing and really something you got to take advantage of. And Ohio State seems poised to do that.
Yeah, and that's something that again, I don't take it for granted, but sometimes the class of Ohio kids that are, in the state, you might not have two lockdown corners. You might not have a Paris Johnson offensive tackle. You might not have certain positions. And some kids like to stay close to home. I think that, there's more and more athletes like this in the South than ever before. But, when we have a couple of these guys that are Ohio kids and they see what we're doing with our corner room, some of the kids that we've picked up, obviously, Davison Igbinosun is going to be fantastic this year for us. I think, Denzel Burke is on the swing back upwards after a rough year last year. I think that kind of reinvigorates that BIA, that best in America mentality that we had, in 19 when we had, Sean Wade when he was playing at a really high level, and we had Jeff Okuda and we had Damon Arnett, and so 2 first rounders. And Sean Wade's a guy that I think if he would have sat out the 2020 year and did the Jamar Chase, Micah Parsons thing, I think he ends up being a first round pick. But him and Wyatt Davis probably suffered and hurt their grades as much as anybody just because they came back and they didn't have great years, and they kind of had to go through the rigmarole that was the COVID season and all the interesting stuff that those guys had to deal with. So, but like I said, I like this tape. This is a big time. This is St. Ed's. This is state championship game right here. So you can actually see the Twins on the left side. You see Ben Roebuck at right tackle. when they're playing in Canton. There's a couple clips of that. There's some really interesting clips of him playing a triple option team, which is kind of nice because obviously you're not going to get a lot of coverage work when you're playing a triple option team, but he really comes up and smokes the back a few times. He's not scared to put his nose in there and run support. And sometimes when you watch a cornerback's highlights, you never really see him in run support because a lot of them really don't want to do it. They're kind of allergic to it. They're not everybody's bred like Antoine Winfield. But this kid, he sticks to guys. Like when you see him in coverage, I mean, guys don't get much space against him, and he redirects really well. Super physical, great with his hands. And again, the biggest thing I love is, look, he turns his head around, tracks the ball. It's kind of almost like a magic trick, because sometimes I don't know what our guys get tough, but they don't know how to turn around and check the ball. This is a great play. This is one I'm going to have to rewind and break down just because this is a play that a lot of teams run this little bubble screen. And, when they're coming out to pick you right here, to get under the pick and have the speed and agility to, stick to the guy. Like how he sticks to this guy. There's no separation, gets under the block, and he makes the play. And again, that's exceptional. Like that's something that a lot of guys would just get blocked there and leave it to the, you kind of trade here, you get blocked, and then this guy's got to make the play. But he actually avoids the block and makes the tackle. That's an exceptional play by that kid. But Nevada, as we're going through this, what do you like the most about this kid?
Well, I just like his compete. Like you said, he's not I'm going to hand it off to somebody else's responsibility and let them make the play. I mean, he's I'm going to make the play myself kind of kid. And that's what you want. And that's what we need. And, you think about the elite corner, when you talk about having elite corners out of the state of Ohio, let alone having two in the state of Ohio. I mean, I can't remember when's the last time that's ever happened. I mean, I've been doing this for really long. I can't remember it. It's like, it's super rare. And so this kid is definitely a unicorn. He's got everything that you want in a football player. But like I said, his compete level is just off the chart. Everything that he does, every sport he plays the same way. And I love that. I think he's going to be terrific at the college level, and I think he'll thrive in the Ohio State system.
Yeah, I totally agree. And again, you need guys that have some bravado and some confidence, because man, when you show up to Ohio State, he's gonna have to check J.J. Smith and some of these freshmen, Mylan Graham, and that's not for the faint of heart. I've seen it. I've seen guys that show up that are really good in high school, and they get you get to Ohio State, man, and it is dog eat dog, rat eat rat. I mean, it's tough. I mean, you got to be ready to lose. I mean, you're going to lose more, your first couple weeks of Ohio State training camp than you've ever lost in your life, unless you're just a freak of nature. I mean, you're going to be going against guys that are 2-3 years older than you, and they're really, really good. So, the confidence is key. I think that the toughness is key. Not necessarily just physical, but the mental toughness. Like that's something that I've seen guys break early at Ohio State. This is a great rep as well. So this is just him being an anti-gunner. Basically, they call it an anti-sniper here. He's nosed up on a gunner. This is the guy that is Devin Smith, Terry McLaurin running down. And he takes pride in it. Look, he locks the guy down, sticks to him, puts him on the ground. Which again, this is not a typical rep for a superstar corner to take this much pride in a rep like that. Again, love the film. Love the kid. And again, I think that, like you said, getting too locked down, because here's one of the triple option plays where they run they're running the veer here. And, so his responsibility is the pitch guy. And watch this. Boom. Pitch guy never gets the ball, but if he had gotten him, it would have been a loss of about 8. So, they give it to the dive here, but his key is the pitch. So he just goes and whacks the guy. And again, like I love that. Like he's not scared to put his nose in there and run support, and that's a rare trait for corners. But yeah, I don't know. Like I'm trying to think of the last time we've had 2 corners at this high level, and it almost makes me want to go back to Dante Whitner and Darius Hiley back in 2003 when we had 2 5-star guys that were corners that came in, and Dante ended up at safety and Soup ended up at receiver, and Dante became a top 10 pick, but Soup never saw the field. So, but again, I love this kid's film. But yeah, your thoughts on this as we wrap this, Nevada? Yeah, I think you're right. This might be the best pair of corners we've had in 20 years from the state of Ohio.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often, man. You just don't see guys like this that come along. And, for Ohio State to be in this position, it just, we know we're going to be recruiting well on the offensive side, but to be able to have, some, defensive guys kind of fall in your lap in your backyard is really big. And in the spirit of that, actually, for the first time ever during one of these podcasts, I actually posted a nugget on the board during our podcast now tonight. I did. So like this is
Multitasking.
I am multitasking. We've got a nugget up on the board that just kind of went up on the an equal sign nugget, nonetheless. And while we're doing a podcast here, after finishing watching a day of nonstop sports, so it's Sportapalooza here.
Yeah, we still got 3 hours left in the day. So, I mean, this is going to end up being a fantastic Sunday as you're posted nuggets. We're going to move on to our next star, Booker Pickett. Very familiar last name for Ohio State fans. The nephew of first round pick Ryan Pickett, who was a monster on the 2001 defense. 01 was a pick by the Rams. Just a really great guy I met numerous times. Nephew here, defensive end, 6'6", love the long arms, only listed at 200, likely will end up being a 245, 250 type DN. But Nevada, these Florida DNs with the pipeline from his obviously his uncle being a first round pick at Ohio State. What's not to like about a 6'6" defensive end from the state of Florida?
Yeah, and like you said, I mean the bloodlines. Look, there's a reason why horse racing, that they look at the bloodlines that can determine the thing. It's the same thing. That's why I love sons of great players in any sport, or nephews, or relatives. I mean, there's something to be said for that. And Ryan Pickett was one of my all-time favorite players at Ohio State. I thought he was super impactful in a really short period of time. Had a great NFL career, and yeah, give me more Pickett, please, for sure. I'll take two more.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Booker is a much different player than Ryan. Ryan was a three technique, up the field, 320-pound guy. This kid is just pure explosion. You see the spin move. I mean, this is hard. This is real hard when a kid's this quick and he's got that kind of agility to get. And again, he'll still fill out. So they play him a lot in a 2-point wide side of the field, man. And he's a chore now. I mean, they're having a lot of trouble blocking him. Exceptionally long arms, which again, for those of you that have never blocked a defensive end, like when a guy can outreach an offensive tackle, that is a huge advantage for him. So, a guy like Booker Pickett is a guy that you better have a game plan on, because this guy, he's got a lot of energy, a lot of moves, really explosive. Like I love his explosion off the edge. And again, he's multiple move guys. He's got spin move, really nice spin move. Not every end can spin proficiently. There's a lot of guys that their spin move kind of sucks, but this guy's explosive. You see him use it multiple times. Good bull rush. Again, this is just a little head fake. Again, this guy's overwhelmed. Something that people don't really talk about much is when you put a back on a defensive end who's 6'6", and he's got that kind of reach. There aren't backs that have that kind of arm length. Like people are worried about like the arm length of a tackle. Well, no running back has the arm length of a 6'6" defensive end. So it's almost an automatic win versus a running back when you put him in the backfield. Again, I would never advise that. I hate when we used to do that, unless you had, Ezekiel or Maurice Claret or some guy who was just a hoss back there. It's going to be really a tough matchup. But few clips in Nevada. I mean, I love the explosion. I love the production. Again, he's getting to the quarterback, and it's a loss of 20, fumble. Like I mean, when he gets there, it's pure havoc. But what do you think of his film? The first handful of snaps we've watched.
Well, the guys out in Florida just are really excited about him, because he's a kid that's came onto the scene, kind of really, flashed early in a high school career in a really competitive level of football. So, when you see that down there in Florida, it's good football. You're not watching, South Dakota football, or, suburban Illinois football or something like that. I mean, this is good football. He's been against good players, against good athletes. And, like I said, he's a kid who's been, high impact from early on. And, I just think the sky's the limit for him, because like you said, he's playing at about 200, 205 pounds right now. He's easily going to be, 230, 240 at Ohio State, and boy, he'll be a wrecking ball. With the, like I said, with that long arms, those now. How did you play tackle with those little oompa loompa arms that you have? How did you do it out there at the right tackle?
I mean, you can't give these guys space, man. It's kind of like if you got a guard like Allen Iverson, you can't give him a bunch of space, man. He's gonna make you look like an idiot. He's gonna cross you up, and you're gonna fall on the ground and look like a moron. So, you got to kind of play games with these guys. You can't just vertical set and pray to God that you block them. Like you got to mix your sets up. You got to short set them. You got to cut them. Vertical set. You got to mix your sets up. Again, like people don't know kind of the intricacies of playing offensive tackle, but it's more than just, kind of kick back and pray. It's like you got to have a game plan. And for guys that have like exceptional, like a guy that I had to block my last year who had exceptionally long arms, Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward was like 6'7", maybe the longest arms in the entire NFL. So, if you just vertically set back, to a point and you let Cam Hayward get like a charge, like a full head of steam with all that truculence heading at you, those long arms, like he's going to kill you. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter how strong you are, how much you bench press. If he gets his hands on you before you can touch him, you're dead. You have no chance. So with Cam, I would short set him nonstop. I would never let him get like a full head of steam. Because again, like he outreached me. I knew that. He knew that. So you got to kind of play games with guys. Like sometimes, it'd be a pass play and I would run block him. I would literally just go run block him and, he'd be looking around looking for the running back. And all of a sudden he'd realize it was a pass and I'd flip into my, pass protection stance, So you really got to throw some curveballs at guys like this. And this kid last season had 30 sacks and 18 tackles for a loss. So 30 sacks is almost legendary production. That is incredible production for a defensive end. And it might all be on this tape because I think every time there's a play, he's getting his hands on the quarterback and taking him to the ground. And again, that's what we need. I mean, everybody wants that Chase Young, that Bosa, that Nick Bosa. Guys that can get after the quarterback are worth hundreds of millions of dollars in the NFL. And, we need those guys. Like we need to replenish, if we lose JT to the draft this year, potentially even Jack Story, if he has a big year, you got to get some of these guys in there that can get after the quarterback. And again, even if he's an early down situational pass rusher, I mean, you see the guy get to the quarterback constantly. He's got a knack for it. Like I said earlier when I was talking about Malik Hooker having a knack for the magnetism in his hands where he could always, find the ball, grab it, go the other way. There's some guys that are just, they have a trait where it's almost like they're slippery. They're hard to block. They're not Velcroed to the tackle like some, like, I've seen guys that have played at Ohio State the last few years and it's like they come off the ball and they just kind of stick to the tackle. They don't know how to get off. They can't defeat the blocks. And this kid, man, he gets around guys quick. And, even, when he's playing some athletic quarterbacks like you've seen in this tape, he can put his foot on the ground and chase him down, which is something that, again, that's an exceptionally valuable tool and trait. So, 30 sacks in Florida football is insane. He was made basically every All-American team last year as a junior. So, again, that's exceptional stuff. You don't see many teams, because guys can say they have 30 sacks, but you can literally sit and watch this guy's tape and count almost 30 sacks, and it's like a 6-minute tape and it's like every single play is a sack or a tackle for a loss or, some, havoc wreaking play, like right there, quarterback just dies, so I don't know. Like this is a kid that, I've heard of him. I've watched him kind of just like scanned his film, but the more I watch this tonight with you folks that are tuned in right now and listening to this, I think that Booker Pick is about as good as it gets. And he's not a 5-star. I don't know how he's not a 5-star, but for me, this kid's a 5-star just based off his production and his upside. 6'6". I mean, you can't teach that. And there's a lot of guys that are 6'6" that are kind of projects and raw. And, that's kind of a code name for they don't produce at all. They're big and fast, but for whatever reason, they can't get to the quarterback or they can't produce on defense. But this ain't this guy. This guy's getting in the backfield and he's wrecking shop. So, but yeah, Nevada, any comparison that you see from this kid, as you've watched this tape?
Well, it's funny because I was actually going to ask you a question because there is a comparison that comes to mind, and I just can't remember the name of the kid. Remember the kid from I think it was North Carolina that had the insane tape, the defensive end
Oh,
that was
Clowney?
like, No. He played at Ohio State. Went to Ohio State. Like I think Meyer offered him like off the tape or something like that, and then he came and he
Oh,
flamed out at school.
Jamal Marcus.
Yeah, Jamal
Yeah,
Marcus,
Jamal
exactly.
Marcus. Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
Jamal
that's
was a 6'3" ish, 6'4" ish guy, but Jamal's tape was
yeah.
unbelievable when we watched it.
Yeah,
You
that was
know,
chaos, man. That was
yeah.
this is what this reminds me of. So no, so yeah, Jamal Marcus. There's a blast from the past.
No, I mean that was something where you're sitting there and like we watched this tape as a staff when it was Urban's first year. It was like 2011 into 2012, counting down to signing day in February, and he called his high school coach. And he's like he didn't understand how Jamal Marcus wasn't the number one player in the country based off his tape because it was that dominant, that disruptive. Again, it was like these big splash plays, sack, fumble, touchdowns. Hurt quarterbacks and Jamal was exceptionally explosive. He's a guy that you saw in that Orange Bowl, like the game where it was kind of like the one where he made his mark. If you just say, hey, play defensive end, go get the quarterback, fantastic player. They tried him at linebacker initially, not a read and react kind of guy, not a guy that's going to read guards. Like you put him at D end, like D end's a pretty easy position to play. It's hard to do it, but it's easy to learn. Like, I mean, if you're a really talented defensive end, you could play the first day that you get to college just because if you're talented and you get to the quarterback and get around tackles, like you're going to play. You don't need, obviously you can advance your technique and refine your technique but playing linebacker, when you have to make checks and make calls and know your drops and know your plays and all this stuff, like defensive end's nothing like that. It's like playing nose guard. Like you could do that and you can learn that in one day basically. But yeah, Jamal Marcus, that's a great comparison. Yeah, I think that physically they're a little different, but film wise, very similar, disruptive. Again, we watched that. Urban thought he was the best player in the country. He's like, I don't know how he's not the number one player in the country. He's not 5 stars offered by everyone. Because he had like an average to upper tier offer list, but it wasn't Bama, Georgia, Clemson. It wasn't that top crust of college football offering him. But, he had a lot of work to do in the classroom. It was a miracle of God that we got him into school. He was a really nice kid. He was on my scout team, and again, I had to coach him every day, and that was always fun. It says, hey, Jamal, make sure you do this on the card. And he was the one guy I had to make sure I told to do on every single play so he would do it right. But nice kid. Like I said, I really like Jamal, but that's a great comp for this kid because this guy's he's a werewolf, man. I could watch this one all night. We got one more tape to go, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he's got more shake than Mario Williams. It kind of reminds me of Clowney, honestly. I don't want to say he's like as good as Clowney because Clowney's the number one player maybe I've ever seen in high school, but in terms of production and height, he's similar. I don't think he's not as big as Clowney because Clowney was 250 when he was the same age. And, Clowney was a guy that when you saw his tape in high school, you knew he was going to be the number one pick in the draft in 3 years without question. And he was. So, but I mean, if this guy adds 45 pounds or so, could he be that kind of guy? Yeah, absolutely. I think. In the comments, shout out, who's he remind you of? Again, I don't know who we've had at Ohio State recently who's been this shaky, because again, obviously we've had some incredible Nick Bosa, Joey, Chase Young, but none of them are the kind of style that this guy is. I mean, every defensive end we've had, they're all a little different. Like Joey's different from Nick, who's different from Chase. All very proficient, all excellent players, but it's just interesting watching this guy because I don't know who we've had with his height and length, and I think Chase was a little more stout, a little thicker at after his junior year than this kid was. But again, I love the production. But yeah, I think that Jamal Marcus's film, I'm gonna have to dig that one up. That's a great call. All right, let's see. Yeah, we got to find some defensive tackles. So we got one more. Nevada, what do you think of our first 2 films? I love these kids so far.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just fun to watch that side of the ball. Like we've watched so much offensive tape. We know we're going to score 50 points a game. We just got to figure out how we're going to hold the other team to 49. So it's kind of fun to watch that.
Yeah, I might have saved the best for last. Edric Houston is the guy, could easily be the number one player in the country. Visited this past Friday at the Woody Hayes from Buford, Georgia. So obviously he's going to be a monster pull if we get him up here. But wow, we're going to put his film on. You're going to see what that 5-star top 10 pick looks like right from Jump Street. I'm going to flip that on real quick. his film is very, very impressive. Again, I think he's a little bit more put together at this point over Pickett, but again, I take them both in a millisecond just because I think that if you got both these kids, it would be, you'd be lighting cigars at the end of the season. So I'll toss his film on right quick and get this thing done. So Edric Houston, class of 24. Here he is playing, kind of they play this kind of funky 3-down look, but he's much bigger than Booker Pickett, but man, is he an explosive guy. Like, look at this. I mean, he's in the backfield, and again, it's so, these plays go so fast, but splits the double, wreaking havoc in the running game. I think this guy's a 3 technique. I mean, he could be a defensive end, but if he blew up to be just a devastating 3 technique tackle, I think he'd be perfect at that. But again, he is this is a guy that if we don't get him, we're going to be going against him because he's going to be at Georgia or Bama or one of the big dogs. And this guy's, he's the guy you got to block. He's the guy that you circle and you got to figure out a plan for. But I think he's a much stronger player right now than Booker Pickett. I don't think he's as explosive, but again, he's hustling. This tackle just kind of this. And again, this is something, if you guys coach high school or anything, like there's nothing that would anger me more than watching something like this, where this guy just literally kind of touches him and just kind of walks there and watch his quarterback get killed by the guy supposed to be blocking instead of chasing him down. But anyways, it's a pet peeve. But yeah, Nevada, this guy, his film is about as good as there is. I mean, he could easily be the number 1 player in the country, but what do you like so far watching this kid other than probably everything?
Yeah, just Alabama or Georgia's getting a good one. But no, I think if we can. I mean, he reminds me of every defensive tackle that we've played against at Alabama and Georgia for the past 10 years. So he seems like a kid that's going to end up down there. But, if by some, hey, I wasn't sure we were going to get Davison, and we ended up pulling him. So, keep hope alive. Anything is possible for sure. I mean, look, he's special. I mean, he's like I said, we always talk about, those big guys that, that had that rare blend of speed and size and, elusiveness and bend. And he's all those things. And, he's got all the attributes that you look for in a number 1 player in the country. A 5-star, could play at any one of the 4 positions on the line. And, he's a rare bird. Like I said, I hope his interest in Ohio State is sincere, because it's not like quarterback where Georgia's only taking one and they're taking somebody else. They're going to be all over this guy to the bitter end, and that's going to be a tough pull. But if anybody can do it, Ohio State and Larry Johnson can do it.
I got some clips from him playing tight end. He's not really playing a tight end in college football, but hey, here he is blocking a kick too. Jeez. This guy is his film is something else, man. Watch him. This big fat guard just gets crushed by this kid. But again, like I said, he was up here, so you got to punch his chance. I mean, will this be a war? Absolutely. To get a kid like this to come to Ohio State. But these are the kind of battles you got to win. And we've won these in the past. It's tough. Again, we just, we've got a couple really good kids from Georgia. I think that this is, this kid's going to be a really special player. Because again, he's not playing a traditional defensive end. He's playing that 3-down look. So he's almost guaranteed to get double teamed every single play. And he's still making these crazy impact plays because he's that explosive, that tough, exceptionally physical. I think that, he's 265 in this film. So he's a little bit heavier when it comes to the hands and the power as opposed to our boy Booker Pickett. But they're both really, really exceptional players. They're both guys I'd be really excited about, but they're also 2 guys that, I think if you got both these guys, you light a cigar and pop a bottle of champagne, because these guys they're really good, and they're both 2 different players. And again, I think he ends up outgrowing defensive end. I think he ends up being 290, being a 3 technique, and being a 1st-round pick at it, because these big guys that are they're quick defensive ends, but they're just ultra athletic D tackles. Those are the kind of guys that make a ton. They're the Jalen Carters. Before Jalen Carter had all of his issues, I mean, it's kind of what his film looked like. He's a guy that gets up the field and he's disruptive and a great athlete, and you better have 2 guys on him, or it's going to be a chore for whatever guy you want up him. I mean, when Georgia needed it the most on the last play of DeJuan's career at Ohio State, Jalen Carter put him right on his butt. And DeJuan weighs 380 pounds, and people dogged out Jalen Carter for looking fat and being tired, but on that last play, man, he wasn't fat or tired. And we had them. They were coming off the sideline a little slow, and they weren't lined up, and snapped the ball. And I mean, Jalen Carter turned into a bull, and he ran DeJuan over and forced pressure on CJ, and we didn't get the yardage we needed. So, again, those are the kind of guys that they make the plays that win the games, and we got to keep winning against the big dogs, against Georgia and Bam, to get guys like this, because these are the guys that you're going to either get or you're going to be going against. Period. End. So, but yeah, love this guy's film. Really good show. Nevada. We'll wrap this thing up. Last week of spring ball is here already, which is crazy. It seems like you blink and it's over. Spring game is on the 15th. So hope you guys are planning on filling the show up. What are you looking for in this last week of spring ball, Nevada?
Well, I think we're looking for a little bit more clarity on the offensive line, and looking for those defensive backs. I mean, the defensive backs emergence really, to me, has been the story of the spring. The fact that we came in and really we're searching for one decent defensive back, and we leave the spring and looks like we got four. So I think Ohio State is really, really. I know. I shouldn't say I think. I know that Ohio State is really, really pleased with the play of the defensive backs. Cody Simon has just been a wrecking ball. Kenyatta Jackson's been a wrecking ball. There's lots of great things on the defense, and offensively, like I said, there's some shuffling going on the line. I think we'll see. If they're going to make a move on some tackles, you might see it as early as this week. So I think we'll keep an eye on the offensive line. Got lots of pieces. Just they're trying to look for the combinations that make the most sense. And another kind of under reported story has really been the emergence of Dallin Hayden as a terrific running back, really having a great spring, and Chip at that fullback, slash Mitch Rossi position. You think about when they roll out there and they roll out Xavier and Chip at running back, or what? I mean, it's going to really create some matchup problems for the defense, because they're not going to really sure what's going on. And Chip can do a lot of things, and as he showed from some of the tape, he's taken it. He can take it to the house. He can block. He can catch. He can do a lot of interesting things. And I think Ryan Day, as much as we like Mitch Rossi, having a big hoss there that's as athletic as Chip at the fullback spot really creates some matchup nightmares for the defense. So we might even see more of that in the spring. So excited to see the last week, but it's been a terrific spring, and Ohio State could not be more pleased with the way things have gone.
Yeah, I think it's such a huge week for some of these young guys to get in. Reed Carrico, it's a blessing in disguise when guys get injured like Seal Chambers and Tommy, because if those guys have a hangnail, they're going to get held out for the rest of spring. They're going to put the bubble wrap on them. Marv probably isn't going to do much the rest of the week. So for some of these young guys, man, Reed Carrico, you're shot with the ones now, dude. CJ Hick, you're running with the ones now. So it's, you're going against Kyle McCord. You're going against that first team offensive line. So I think that's the unique thing about spring is if guys have basically any type of injury, if they're kind of a starter or they're written kind of in pencil, maybe even in ink, they're going to get held out. So it gives major opportunity for guys like Carnell Tate. All of a sudden, Emeka Egbuka's out and Julian Fleming's out, and all of a sudden, you don't want to be out for too long, because you put Carnell in your spot, you might not get your spot back. So that's the fun part about spring. I think that some of the older guys that have had good careers, and they could probably mothball them, and we'll see in August when camp starts and get ready for which I'm sure will be a murderous summer workout. But this is kind of go time for some of these guys that are going into year 2, going into year 3, because the way we're recruiting and with the transfer portal, you never know who's coming into the room. So you better make a good impression on your position coach, on your coordinator, and on Ryan Day this last week, because it's, you gotta leave that positive impression. I think it's really important to kind of peak at the end of the week. You got, 3 practices, spring game. You want to have that good momentum going into the summer. You don't want to kind of sputter out. Coaches always look to see what guys can kind of dig deep and finish well and finish hard and finish on the upswing and on that right trajectory, because not everybody can do it. It's hard. You're beat up, you're sore, feel like crap. You're coming off Easter, might have gone home and ate some some ham and eggs or whatever you want to eat. And now you got to get all that out of you and get ready to go. Because, I mean, for some of these guys, the spring game's really big. And these last few practices, I'm sure they're going to have some real physical practice, especially on the coaching clinic. They usually do some pretty physical drills to show the high school coaches, some technique stuff. Like we used to always beat the crap out of each other during the coaching clinic just because, our coaches like to show, hey, this is how we practice. And it's not a bunch of lollygagging, and it's not, brother-in-law and each other and taking care of each other. Like we really get after each other. So it'll be an interesting stretch as we get to the spring game this Saturday. So Nevada, any closing remarks? First time ever we had a nugget break in the middle of the show. So congrats on that. That's awesome. I can't wait to read what it is once I get on BuckeyeScoop.com. But any closing remarks, Nevada?
No, just some exciting recruiting stuff happening. We got some imminent booms, and just posted an equal sign. So, lots of exciting things going on, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. So buckle up.
I absolutely love it. Yeah, I think that it's the defense's turn to start dominating on recruiting. I'm really excited about it. I think that there's going to be some big time action over the next week and even into the next month of some of these guys that want to commit before camp season. Kind of changes the whole dynamic when you have that Ohio State committable offer in hand. So it's going to be fascinating. Well, again, we appreciate you guys so much. I hope you guys had a happy Easter with your friends and family. I hope you guys had a great day, great sports day today. BuckeyeScoop.com was crazy today. I mean, it was nonstop activity on the board. So, and we're working into the night. We got an equal sign, silent commit, rocking and rolling right now. So really excited about that. So I hope you guys enjoyed this show. As always, we love kicking it with you guys. You guys are the best. You guys make the show what it is. You live audience, you guys just kill it. So we appreciate you guys so much. In the comments, shout out where you're from. Shout out who needs to step up this week. Which young player? Give me a young guy who needs to step up this week and grab a role on the team. Is it a backup linebacker that needs to become a starter? Is it a offensive lineman? There's a bunch of offensive line spots that are wide open right now. Some of these guys got to step up and go grab the brass ring. So I'm really excited about that. So shout out where you're from. Give me a young guy that needs to step up this week. As always, we appreciate you guys so much. If you enjoyed this content, please click like and subscribe to the channel. If you guys could also subscribe to our audio podcast, which is on Apple. It's also on Spotify. It's basically on every podcast platform. Search Buckeye Scoop. You will find this is the morning scoop. Scoop World Order. It's on a bunch of different platforms. So appreciate you guys always. If you can leave a 5-star review on that, that'd be huge. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. Again, you guys are the best. We'll be back again tomorrow. We got some more film to break down. So again, probably around 7-ish. So tune in. Can't wait to see you guys. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. I hope you guys had a great Easter. Thank you guys for spending a little bit of time with us. Appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Go Bucks.